quick, I guess, before we get to break here. Y'all play some Spellbreak? Somebody else? I think Ben did.
Real quick, Brad, I could talk about this game for 2.5 hours.
Really?
Holy shit! I love this game.
I can tell you my experience, my entire experience with Spellbreak in about 2.5 seconds. Which is,
go ahead.
I went through the tutorial. I played one match in which I got 7 kills and then won the match. And then and then I was like, you know what? I was like, and I had played it on the PS4 and I got like a third of the trophies in the entire game off that one match, and I was just like, I'm just gonna turn this game off. It's not gonna get any better than that. This game seems cool, but there's nowhere to go but down from here, so goodbye.
Unfortunately, I'm about to burst your bubble and tell you that you're playing against bots.
Damn it. The thought, fuck, man.
Hey, trophies are trophies, man.
That thought crossed my mind, but like when I went through the modes, because you select the mode and it's just like tutorial and battle, whatever, and I was like, man, don't fucking tell me these are bots.
I had a similar thing. I won my first 2 games. I'm like, oh my god, I'm the greatest Spellbreak player who's ever lived. I'm pursuing a sponsorship. I'm quitting.
Right.
This is my life now.
The other reason I wanted to believe those were real players is that I didn't think there was any way they would give you all those trophies off of a fucking bot match. I was like, surely they were going to hold those back and make you earn those for real, but apparently not.
So Spellbreak is Wizard Battle Royale. It is way more ability and movement focused than other battle royales. It is not, I mean, you still have to aim your spells and shit, but it is not a PUBG. It is not, you have a gun and you need to be able to shoot your shots. It's more about managing your cooldowns, managing your movement and stuff.
Okay, my first question was going to be, can I cast a spell that conjures an AK-47? But
I think the closest there is the lightning, because they've got kind of a machine gun vibe on the right click.
Yeah, the flame gauntlet is like kind of a rocket launcher, right?
Yeah,
like some of the spells are sort of like gun analogs from shooters. But
the toxic has kind of a spray, like a shotgun. But basically, the game works. You choose a class at the beginning, and that's going to be your default gauntlet. There's 6 of them: earth, wind, fire, lightning,
heart.
Ice, and heart. No, like one toxic.
Friendship.
And whatever gauntlet you pick, every gauntlet has like 2 abilities. It has like kind of just like a single shot thing that is managed by a mana bar. It's if it's shoot a lightning bolt, it's shoot a fireball. It's pretty basic stuff. And then an active ability on a cooldown. And that's usually like a bigger AoE thing, like a big toxic cloud or a tornado if you're the wind class. And then whichever class you start out with that gauntlet and then some sort of mastery over that gauntlet. Because when the game starts and when you're like in there, you can have up to 2 and you can be like, okay, I have a main lightning, but then I also have a stone on my offhand or whatever. But the class you pick has special things. So like if you're the wind class and you have your wind gauntlet, if you shoot a wind blast at the ground, it's going to pop you up into the air. Or if you're the ice class and you shoot your little ice bow, the arrow leaves a little trail and you can skate along it like an ice skater and you get more movement speed and stuff. And then you can combine that.
Sorry to interrupt. Did you notice that the ice will melt into a puddle? And then I wonder if does that synergize with lightning at that point?
I believe it does.
Like zap it
also, you can melt it prematurely with fire. Huh. So like the coolest part about this game is all of the elements interact with each other in a sort of like Magicka-esque way where like if I throw down a tornado and somebody else shoots fire into it, it becomes a fire tornado, and then that will do like damage over time and suck you in instead of just sucking you in like a normal tornado does. And so the game is about like kind of learning these masteries, and then there's like runes on top of that, and the runes will be stuff like give you flight. There's one that like shows enemy positions, a teleport, stuff like that. So you're managing like all these cooldowns. I've mostly been playing the air class. And once you're kind of loaded out, you can just stay in the sky for pretty much ever. You're just like floating around. If you have the right rune, you're up in the air. You throw a couple things at the ground, it'll bounce you back up. As you play, you kind of level up within the game. And each tier of those gives you additional like abilities and modifiers and stuff. So like the wind one, it'll be like, okay, you throw a tornado down, and then you can hop into it and it'll shoot you out, but it won't shoot anyone else out. Or like if you're in the air, all your cooldowns are going down faster. So it encourages you to kind of play like that. Whereas the earth one will encourage you to stay on the ground because you'll get like bonus armor if you're stationary, stuff like that. It seems really smartly designed in that regard. It's like they've kind of thought of like how would these elements work? Like, let's make it so that everything works like you would think. So if you're going to shoot this into this, it explodes in a way. it's just really fucking fun, man. It's exactly my kind of game. You know, I like games that are very movement and movement oriented. Like that's why Apex was my favorite of the battle royales, because you had like characters that were super mobile. You know, Pathfinder has this grappling hook, even just the basic slide. Like this game, everyone can float. You know, you can just kind of hold space to kind of float in the air, and that'll use up some of your mana bar. It's a lot of fun. And, like it's got some stuff that's pretty unique to it. So, you know, with most battle royales, you're kind of looking around for like open doors, open chests. This has that stuff in it, but then also you're like listening for the sound of lightning or like listening for a fire, because if you hear those things, you know there's a fight going on. And so you're kind of like surveying the land, and you hear the lightning crackle off to the east, and so you know there's a fight going down there, and you can head that way. It's really cool. The only issue I have, well, I have a couple small issues with it. One is that it's completely lacking any voice acting at all, which is a big problem for me, because Apex is so good at, like, if your teammate is getting shot at, one of the characters says like, oh shit, they see us, they're shooting at us, you know, and so you can kind of stop looting and just like turn your head on a swivel and go over there. But in Spellbreak, unfortunately, they don't have any of that. The most you get is like you'll see their username start to flash, and I think that signifies that they're taking damage, but I'm still not 100% sure. And then the pacing of it is a little different from most of the battle royales I've played, where it kind of usually ends with a big like 12-person fight. There's usually like one fight at the beginning when kind of everyone drops and you drop next to another squad. But most of my games go like one fight at the beginning, and then if you win that fight, you make it to the last circle with like 12 other people, and it's just this huge, there's just dozens of spells popping off. Everything's on fire. There's like 15 people in the sky just like looking down at everyone, throwing down lightning bolts and shit.
This sounds great.
It is so chaotic, but it is really fun. Like if you're into that sort of like chaos, it is tremendous. It's free also, and you know, there's nothing, I mean, you can buy costumes and stuff, but you're also earning gold that you can use in the store. I haven't found anything in there that you would like explicitly have to pay for, but I wouldn't be surprised if they add some sort of battle pass down the line that maybe you could throw a couple bucks at.
They add voices to the battle pass.
I just looked it up. It says the matches top out at 42 players. Like, do they still feel feel like pretty populated, pretty active? Like,
yeah, I think maybe the map is a little big for that number, especially because like the way it works at the beginning isn't like any other battle royale I've played. Instead of like having one place for everyone to drop, or you're dropping out of a plane or a bus or whatever, it's like there's like 16 random circles on the map, and you choose which circle you want to drop in, and it tells you if other people have occupied that same circle too. So you could like intentionally avoid other people entirely, or you could try and go somewhere hot, which I think is an interesting way to go about it. But I think it maybe splits people up a little too much, because I feel like every time I've played, people have wanted to opt for, no, let's go where it's safe and just loot and then fight. Whereas I am typically a kind of player who likes to get in there, get spicy, get some like practice in, you know, try and hit my shots. I've definitely had games won where I've just like timed people out. I'm just like flying up in the air, keeping myself above, not shooting anything, but just like keep propelling myself up, and the circle gets smaller and smaller, and I'm just like in the air. It's like those early clips of like Fortnite where people just build straight up and then just sit up there and win because other people die to the circle and stuff. The last thing I'll say that this game does that is unique and a real motherfucker is there is friendly fire. Especially with some of the spell combinations. Yeah,
like some of those AoEs are pretty tough to use precisely.
Yeah,
it seems like.
And so they deal with it with a cool way where like you can't hurt yourself with a lot of the stuff, but like, so the air class, you know, I make a tornado with the intention of jumping into it and propelling out of it. If I make the tornado and then somebody else from another team throws a fireball at that tornado, it suddenly becomes their tornado. So I get sucked into it. There's a real cool push and pull with like how the spells work. And if you're really on your shit and like surveying the battlefield, you can just like interrupt other people's combos with like a well-precised shot. It's
neat.
It is just a blast. Like they really nailed the feel of you are a fucking bender flying through the air, bending the shit out of some spells.
It's cool. It's
so
cool.
cool.
It's cool. It's cool to hear it's got that depth. Like it's
Yeah.
I hope it's got some legs on it from just people finding cool ways to exploit all those systems.
I was watching a streamer play, and they had one of the devs in there talking about, they're working on new elements already and stuff like that. So it seems like they're willing to support it pretty healthily.
Cool.
And it had a pretty long early access run too, right?
I played some of it on UPF. Like, God, remember UPF?
What?
Like a year ago or something like that. I have no idea.
I think we still had the couch